What up, y'all? We are here for our weekly energy oracle forecast, where we are taking a look at the week ahead to see what kind of energy we will be living in, moving in, see what kind of spiritual lessons are on the table for this week. My God, Valentine's Day. We had about 800 covers at the restaurant, roughly, and I probably had 20 tables and walked out with like $200. And we had to move all the furniture in the restaurant out and replace all the two tops. Like, the amount of life force that was sucked out of me to have an low average night like that would be like a low average, just like kind of bad. Like, you would do better just on a regular weeknight with like a few business tables, honestly, and like barely feel like you've broken a sweat. Soul crushing. And then we had a very busy night tonight. Like, we were so busy last night that I would just get 4 tables would sit down at once, quadruple set, over and over and over again. So that means that every course is coming out at the same time for every table. So you're like running around trying to get everybody the right silverware, keeping everybody refilled, trying to get their drinks. Like, everybody orders the same thing. It's so weird. It's this weird phenomenon. Every year, all my tables all end up ordering the same thing. And so I start to get like disoriented and confused. And I lose track of where I am in the night, who's eaten, who's had what courses, like if they've paid, like it is so disorienting. And there are so many more extra tables and everybody sort of looks the same. And it's just, oh my God. I know there's, somebody was telling me they were a sous chef because they were sending me brotherhood blessings from the trenches. My God, how did you survive? Tell me, how was your Valentine's Day? Oh man. Well, we're through it now, okay? It's behind us. So let's see what we have in store for this week. Anxiety. Not surprising. So this morning, a lot's happened since this morning because I went to work and we were really busy tonight again. But I remember the Torah portion of the week, the lesson that was just sort of like the overview of what to expect, was that sometimes when we consider our life, we look at something that's difficult or hard or that doesn't come easy, and we misinterpret that, and we think that that means that something is maybe bad or has gone wrong. But the thing is that it's the other side, it's the opponent, it's the spirit of impurity that baits us with easy, right? When the devil wants to keep you pacified and lured into like this slumber, things come easy, right? You know, and it's not insidious. It just keeps you comfortable, keeps you living high on the hog, right? And we mistake that for assuming that it's the blessing. But a true blessing is something that brings you closer to the Creator. It strengthens your relationship and your connection with the Creator, right? And what usually brings on strengthening our connection and our proximity and our longing for the Creator? Uncertainty, a challenge, right? When we need support. And so it's like there's this challenge to sort of reconsider and shift our perspective about how we look at times in our life that are a little more difficult, when we have to exert a little more effort, when things don't necessarily come easy, right? We can say, okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm cursed or that something's gone wrong or that I'm bad or I'm not enough or not doing enough or, you know, it's not an indication that I'm in the wrong place or on the wrong path. It's an indication that like our soul wants to earn that light of the Creator, like to reveal it within ourselves. It's like when a little kid, when you're like doing a task together and they're kind of learning it for the first time, and you go in to like do the thing for them and they're like, no, I want to do it. No, I want to do it. That's the soul. It wants to be like the Creator in such a way, and the Creator's like, I just want to give to you, I just want to be close to you, I just love you so much, soul, you're my love, you're my beloved. And the soul is like, no, I want to do it, I want to do the thing, like I want to learn, I want to change, I want to grow, I want to become, I want to evolve. And so the soul is in here knowing what it's going to require to evolve, but the ego is up here knowing what we want, not evolving. And so there's a conflict there, which creates anxiety. Attachment to an outcome or an expectation or projection, that creates anxiety. But if we aren't holding on to anything, if we're just patient, ready to just go with the flow, see how things play out. I mean, it's not to say that you are so passive in life that you don't have a goal or you don't have focus, but you're not rigidly looking over your shoulder every second to see if everything's going the way you expect it to. Does that make sense? It's like when you're in, I often think of, for instance, this time I was standing in line to vote in my neighborhood. And it was like the line was really long that day. It was taking a while and it was all snaked around. I mean, it wasn't taking like all day like it does in some places, but it was taking a minute. And this happens at the grocery store too. And I usually just find contentment in that moment because I'm not attached to a timeline or, getting out of there quick. I'm just like, all right, I'm here. This is my activity. I'm in the present. I'm just grounded in the moment. I'm letting it go. And it's interesting because I enjoy the grocery store and I never get stressed about going. I think part of that is just because like I've prepared myself to accept that it's going to be crowded. There's going to be lines, like there's going to be waiting involved, and that's fine. But like, and then same with like the voting or something like that situation. But what I noticed is that other people around me would be like, and they'd be getting like really dramatic about their impatience, and they're only making themselves miserable in that moment rather than just like letting go and be like, I don't have any expectation about how long this is going to take, But I think too, it's different when you have, like, it's not to say that you can't have standards, right? Or that kind of thing, but there's kind of a nuanced difference. So I think when we let go of attachments, like for instance, the monks that were walking for peace from Texas to Washington, D.C., they finished over the last couple of days, and the video I saw this morning, I'm not sure if it was from today or yesterday, but they made it back home, and they were received with this huge welcome, and the monks were just kind of rehashing some of their thoughts and takeaways from the trip, and they were just talking about things that lent to peace and cultivating that inner peace within. And one thing that the Buddha teaches, the Siddhartha, when he went out away from the palace, to go learn and experience suffering, like one of the big takeaways in Buddhism is to let go of attachments. And right there, that offers a lot of peace. So there's going to be, what we have to let go of is our attachment to our perception of whether something is going right or wrong, or whether it's definitely good or bad. Like sometimes we don't know necessarily because there's a lot more that we can't see. And sometimes God's working in these really mysterious ways. And what looks like it could be a sticky situation can actually play out to your benefit in ways you didn't even expect. For instance, I once had a car that I loved. I was driving a used 4Runner, but I mean, if you've had a 4Runner, I mean, it's such a great car. But my catalytic converter went out. and it costed a lot of money to fix. And in Tennessee, like, you can't get your tags renewed if you don't pass emissions, and if your catalytic converter's weird, you won't pass emissions. Well, I got that one fixed, and it put me into debt on my credit card. And then I had to get the other one fixed because that one went out too. And so it was just like the car was already costing me a lot of money. And then one day I started hearing some really expensive sounds and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh my God, it sounds like the whole suspension is going out or something. I don't even know what that means. And at the time I was making ends meet, driving for Lyft, because it was when I was freelancing in production, it was a very slow part of the season. And I was out looking for rides and I got T-boned and it totaled my 4Runner. And it was such a traumatic experience. And I don't like to be caught up with like law and anything like that. It just makes me so scared. But I was trying to trust that something positive was playing out in the situation, and I wasn't sure how it was all going to work out, and I had so much anxiety, and I was trying to just trust that God would move through the situation and it would turn out for the best. And long story short, I ended up being able to get a pretty decent down payment on a new car, instead of having to put like a whole bunch of money into a car that was like about to break down. So the car probably had totaled itself. It just, the insurance company didn't know that yet. And then the car came along and totaled it for me. I didn't do anything, right? I got in an accident, but it was a miracle in the end. But, to untrained eyes, it doesn't look like a miracle. It looks like one thing happening after another. Oh, this is terrible. This is bad. But it wasn't bad. It actually turned out great. No one was hurt. I don't know what the other person's story was, but that's none of my business. Maybe they, in the upper realms, they decided this person needed this in their movie for whatever reason. But in my movie, it worked out, and it was a miracle that I had to trust could come through, but I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that the creator could turn it around for me. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. So anxiety, when it's coming up this week, it's going to be related to our perception of our current circumstances or current challenges that we're going through, and learning that the ultimate blessing is whatever brings you closer to the Creator and whatever strengthens that relationship. And I think so when we start learning and understanding life through those lenses, suddenly they're not as heavy. They're not as burdensome anymore. So just watch your anxiety as like a highlighter to indicate, oh, okay, what am I anxious about? What is this tying into? Because the Creator is working in mysterious ways, and this isn't necessarily going to turn out in a negative way. We have cycle, right? So this might be showing us patterns in the past where we would fall prey to being like a servant or a puppet to our anxiety. And our anxiety would trigger reactive behavior in us that then we would try to like take an action based on our anxiety and send us into a pattern and into a cycle. But we are starting new cycles. You guys, part of this anxiety this week is coming from some of the most enormous transits that have happened in a very long time, and conjunctions. So this 330-year cycle is ending and a new cycle is starting this week. I think it's like the 20th or the 21st, when the Neptune-Saturn conjunction in 0 degrees of Aries happens. And this is like energy and a conjunction that will never happen again in our lifetime. And this is like setting the factory reset on our life. So when we say we are starting new cycles and the new timeline is starting, the new timeline that we've been jumping on timeline and timeline and timeline over the past few years, never finding a home, feeling like we're just uprooted for the past 4 years while we demolition and clear the grounds and re-examine everything and purge and shed. And now we're finally beginning this new chapter. Like we've got this brand new big blank book, and it's up to us to fill the pages. And so we want to do that in the most conscious and positive and divinely inspired way we can. So we don't want to be planting seeds of anxiety, because that's going to flavor our whole story, our whole pot of soup or stew that we're making, right? It's like burning the onions right off the bat. It's going to fuck up the flavor base. So I just thought, no wonder my these videos ended up in a sous chef's algorithm, because I'm always using food as and cooking as a metaphor, and I'm always telling my stories from work at the beginning. That's funny. So anyway, we're beginning this like huge new cycle, and so this is our like a chance like no other time we've ever had in our lifetime, where we can be more proactively self-aware than ever in co-creating the reality that we really want to live in. Not just being a victim of circumstance, but we are manifesting and co-creating and living with free will and sovereignty and choice. Not just being batted around like a rag doll through life, but we are practicing self-control and self-mastery, and we have a strong enough will to cultivate our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our perspective, and we can choose with discipline. I'm not going to get lost in the day. I'm not going to get stuck in a loop of low-level trauma response where I'm freezing and I'm procrastinating and I'm ruminating and I'm letting the daylight burn, and I'm not doing all the things that truly are enriching my life, or that me doing those enrich the lives of others. I'm not showing up for my service. I'm not showing up for my dreams. I'm not showing up for myself fully because I'm so ungrounded and anxious and cycling through old patterns. Like, we're all done doing this. Like, this is like, we're ready for new experiences and new stories and new energy and a new sense of ownership of self and liberation and inner authority. And so we want to step into that cycle, not in reflexive responses all the time to life, but moving through with grace, on purpose, and proactively using our free will and choice. And we're never using our free will unless we are actually in possession of our energy and our thoughts, and we're choosing how we proactively meet a moment rather than reflexively responding from a reactive place. All right, yay, love it. I'm so excited. It's crazy. I'm like, what should I be doing? Should I be, journaling, like a last minute purge? Like, what do we do? Oh, we've been waiting for this moment for so long. It's like, I just want to take advantage of every last second of this like energy, like the most out of it. Oh, embrace. Same. What I was saying. Yes, embracing this moment. Like, okay, me and this, my friend, my coworker at work, were talking about this. She was like, yeah, I just, like, I don't know why, but, like, the past few days, like, week, I just keep having these, like, random insights hit me about stuff that haven't come up to my, like, in my mind or my awareness in so long. Stuff that's just, like, old, buried, forgotten about, like, I've processed this, I'm through it, it's just, like, new realizations, right? And I think that a lot of us are having that. I know I am. I know, I've had these moments where it feels like I'm disassociating, but really like I'm kind of in a trance and my subconscious is coming up and I'm remembering, I'm tying the pieces together, like things from childhood and things about like family dynamic or cultural ideologies that, I'm deconstructing. Like, I don't have to deconstruct a lot about like religious beliefs and things like that, because I could always like smell it out when I knew it wasn't jiving with Jesus. and it was just like people's ideologies thrown in. But the cultural expectations, I think, woven into that and then dressed up like it's your religious duty, there are those things like that, like in Judaism, they would call them maybe like cultural prohibitions, things that were maybe frowned upon because of like, culture, but not necessarily forbidden by Torah, for instance. And so there's a lot of that, that we all have to look at. Whereas some people are having to deconstruct their understanding of like biblical stuff. I'm not there because I look at it through the lens of mysticism anyway. So I've never taken it like only at face value. But there are things that, I guess people try to project on you as far as like, I don't know, cultural expectations, societal expectations, all of that programming, like things like that. I'm like, oh, deconstructing. Oh, I can see that in a new light. Oh, I can let that go. It's like, so many things are coming into light over the past several weeks where you're just like, all these sickos have been running the culture. No wonder we were fed all of these things about image and expectation of this and that. It's like casting off that yolk. Oh my God, like give me some carbs quick. About to get my comfortable pants. All right, but okay, so we're embracing this moment though. Like don't feel like you need to get like for instance, what I'm getting at is that there have been moments where I find myself and I'm just like kind of staring off into nowhere, but it's allowing those moments to play out that have let all this stuff come up and forward. So if you find yourself in these moments, right, maybe don't chalk it up just to ruminating. Maybe that there are like insights and revelations coming forward, because like the whole thing is like Pisces is the deep dive, the subconscious, the patterns, but it's also the imagination and the dreams and, your goals and your dreams and your expectations and creative ideas. But Pisces can be indecisive, non-committal. They might not have strong boundaries. They might not have, a strong this or that. They're kind of liminal. They kind of suffer under illusion, and when you're wrapped up in Pisces energy, you just get right into that illusion. You're like, yeah, oh my God. It's like when you're, if you ever had psychedelics, you're in the illusion, and then every now and then you'll have a moment of clarity, and you're like, wait, what? Oh my God. So now it's like we're having that moment of clarity where we're like, wait, what? And so what's happening is that energy of Pisces moving into Aries is now, instead of being wishy-washy like that fish energy, it's like it's much more direct, it's much more decisive, it's much more fiery. Let's get going, let's take action, let's move forward. Whereas Aries, though, with that impulsive, passionate energy, it can burn out fast and quick, hot and fast, and Aries sometimes has trouble with follow through. We have Saturn coming in, the master of follow through, the master of discipline, right, and structure and boundaries, but also karma. So it's like that part of us that's like growing up and getting more mature and getting more serious and getting out of the pipe dream and out of the illusion and out of the fantasy world and into realistic. How am I going to bring this vision into reality? I don't have to dismiss this vision as being impossible. Saturn knows how to figure out a pragmatic way forward, right? And Aries has the enthusiasm and fire and guts to do it, right? And the recklessness to take the chance. So this is a lot of energy, but it's a great combination. It's like taking the right vitamins together. It's like finally where Pisces was very emotional, it was very dreamy, it was very like all up in our head and like living in that space of potential and getting drunk on that potential, but never bringing it into materialization. Now we've woken up from the dream, we've shaken off the grogginess, and we're ready to like get to work, to get moving. Like, we're in a new cycle, we're making a new story. And so now it's like we have so much more clarity about what we want, where we want to go, what we're becoming, and what we desire. And we're having a lot more practical, grounded, divine inspiration on step-by-step things to make this happen, to make it a material reality. So embracing these moments, embracing these insights as they're coming. Don't avoid them. Don't think that you're like wallowing in it and like, oh, I should be past this by now. Just let yourself be with it for a minute, because it's the internal shifts that are going to be the most powerful in affecting our outer world, right? So if we get caught up in obsessing over making material changes and taking material action right now, we're going to miss those moments where the depths of ourselves is coming up and revealing itself to us, where we're seeing the patterns, where we're seeing the triggers behind the patterns, the motivating, dialogue and paths where we got there in the first place. So it's like we're dismantling all of these old beliefs, false beliefs, limiting beliefs, but we have to embrace the moment to take the time to do that. And this is the perfect time, and the energy is so potent for it, and it's never going to be in our lifetime again. So really take advantage and make the most of it. Oh, I love it. Knowledge, self-knowledge. This is just underscoring what I just said about like really taking this moment to grasp and have deeper knowledge of yourself, deeper understanding of your motivations, because then you can, once you've mastered that and you have a different perspective and you have the amount of self-control where you can take a step back and have perspective, then you can proactively choose. You're not just at the mercy of the circumstance or like just trying to survive the situation or acting reactively or impulsively. So yes, whatever's happening this week is like an opportunity to really have ownership and sovereignty over knowing who we are, having a grasp on how everything in our life has built the resources and faculties that we have. And I think now we're starting to understand, I understand why I went through everything I did in my life. And I understand that what it's built in me and what it's created in me. And that if I hadn't been through those things, I wouldn't know the things that I know. I wouldn't have the strength to pull them off. I wouldn't have the endurance. I wouldn't have like a big 360 vision of the situation, maybe more so than the other people around me that are shorter sighted, that can't see what I can see. So I think we're starting to understand and appreciate our life on a new level, and then that's giving us even more vision and understanding about the world and the life we want to create moving forward. It's just like cosmic sovereignty, right? We have like that song, he's got the whole world in his hands, basically like talking about God's the creator. He's got the world, he's got it under control, he's got, everything in his hands. And we are like a little miniature version of this, having kind of a grasp and an understanding on ourselves within the greater scheme of things for the first time. And now it's about taking from that stance and that perspective as we move forward into our new story. This is the new character we're embodying. So what's our story going to be like? How's it going to unfold? All right, that is all for tonight. We will be back together tomorrow to go deeper into the details of how this week's lessons will play out. Tomorrow will be our anchor message, where we will be kind of getting our spiritual assignments for the week. Until then, I hope that you have a beautiful day, beautiful evening. Peace be with you. Ciao.